Welcome back to another edition. There are a lot of halls of fame. A hall of fame is typically a list of individuals uh, or achievements, usually chosen by a group of electors to mark their fame in their field. The meaning of fame has changed over the years. Originally, it meant being renowned for achievement, as opposed to today's more common meaning of achieving celebrity status. When I researched this, it was interesting to me that the first Hall of Fame was founded in Munich, Germany in 1853. Since that time, there have been a plethora of halls of fame to include music, sports, automotive, aviation, and the arts. My quick perusal of the halls of fame on Wikipedia found over 250 different halls of fame, which I might add that there is a South Dakota Hall of Fame. Nowhere on the list of the over 250 halls of fame was there a single parents Hall of Fame. There are no single parent of the year awards. There should be. The challenges of being a single parent are monumental. The number of U.S. children living with a single parent has been rising, accompanied by a decline in marriage rates and a rise in birth rates outside of marriage. Pew Research Center study recently released 130 countries, and it showed that the U.S. has the world's highest rate of children living in single-parent households. Almost a quarter of U.S. children under the age of 18 live with one parent and no other adults. That's 23%, which is more than 3 times the share of children around the world who do so, which is 7%. Now, I can't think of a class of people, if that's an appropriate phrase, that I have a deeper respect for than single parents. And in my experience, most single parents are single moms, but I don't want to leave out single dads either. It's no secret that I have done a reasonable amount of group therapy in my life. And I don't know if there was ever a time that any of the groups I belong to didn't have a single mom as a group member. And I have never stopped being in admiration of the courage that these single parents face in the world. It's when I think about myself being in the same place, it's just overwhelming. I truly don't know that I could cope with that. And yet, there's millions of single parents doing their best, juggling all of the responsibilities that would fall on two parents. And of course, they do it as one. So I've really been on the inside of many of these parents' lives, and hearing their struggles, and their struggles both emotionally and financially. According to marriage.com, the 5 biggest challenges of single parents are loneliness, disciplining children, self-esteem, guilt, and finances. Um, you know, all of that is obviously very tied to emotions and money. There's just so many challenges. I don't know, where to go with this. And I think the one place to go, obviously, the parents that I have been mostly exposed to in group have been doing a really, really important thing, which is getting support. And that is just so crucial to a parent, a single parent, who's also responsible for the financial well-being of their children. I mean, between being a parent and being the breadwinner of the family, what has always struck me is how there is so little time for self-care, how their lives are controlled, especially their self-care is controlled by the availability of somebody else to give them a break, the availability of having the finances to pay someone to give them a break, which means taking the kids for half hour, 2 hours, so they can just get a little me time. That is pretty precious to a single parent. So I think since the focus of this is financial therapy, I'll focus on the financial aspects of being a single parent. I would guess that the emotional aspect of not earning money or not earning enough money in a society that values making money can be pretty devastating for a person. Ilana Feinsmith, who's a financial therapist and a CFP, wrote on this, and she said it can be hard for many moms to justify spending money on themselves or even be in touch with their own needs, since they are taking care of the needs of others, often on a budget. I think this really zeroes in on the challenge of a single mom to take care of themselves. There are so many money scripts and so many emotions around this that can suggest that it's just selfish for them to do that, especially when the kids need this and the kids need that. It's really hard to place ourselves on the list, so to speak. And as Ilana brings up, it's even difficult for someone to be in touch with what they need because a single parent is so focused on the needs of their kids. I remember when I was in group therapy, so often I'd be talking or doing some work on something, and the therapist would say, "So, what do you need, Rick? What do you need in this situation?" And it was just like, remember in the old days when the television channel would go off the air, and all that there would be is the fuzz, The white snow, the hiss, that's literally what happened between my ears when I was asked, "What do you need?" It just was not something that I was in touch with whatsoever. And I used to get angry when he asked me that question. And many times I'd say, "Why don't you just invent a pill that we can take so that we can know what we need?" And sometimes when people would suggest what I needed, it was so fundamental and rudimentary that I was amazed I couldn't see that or articulate that or be aware that that was a need. So this is a super challenge for a single parent. And it's so important that single parents balance their needs with their kids' needs, because if the single parent does not get adequate self-care, then it puts the whole family at risk. There isn't another adult to back up. When a single parent is sick, there's not another parent to come in to take up the slack. So self-care for anybody is important, right? But it's crucial for a single parent. And it would seem that adequate self-care is probably the most hardest commodity for a single parent to carve out. So it almost feels like an oxymoron to encourage a single parent to get adequate self-care. But it is crucial, and it often takes a lot of creativity to come up with ways that a single parent can take care of themselves. So this is something to really ponder if you're a single parent. Of course, if you're not a single parent and know a single parent, giving them the support, coming up with ideas and ways that they can get their needs met, no matter how small they are, is so important. Another thing that hit me is that there's no monetary compensation for single parents. It's not necessarily a social safety net that we have. There's certainly some financial assistance for single moms. But as a society, we tend not to really dwell or focus on the value that a stay-at-home spouse is worth. And I know this is something that any stay-at-home parent often struggles with, is being in touch with their value, with their worth, what they're adding to the partnership, and many times even feeling like they're a burden. Salary.com says that the work moms do, and this would be a stay-at-home mom, is worth $184,000 after you factor in the chief financial officer and operating officer roles. And it could be worth that, even if they are working with everything that they're doing, since everything is falling on them. So that's a lot, and it's a lot to attempt to internalize if you have a part of yourself that is thinking as certainly as a stay-at-home spouse, that you're not contributing much. And I say stay-at-home spouse because imagine the challenge when there's a divorce and the stay-at-home spouse now becomes primarily responsible for the financial well-being of their children. That is huge. You know, in the old days, Feinstein or Feinsmith noted that in England, wealthy families had nannies, and cooks, and housekeepers, and butlers. And that's even true today in many societies. In a lot of cultures, grandparents are close by and help run the home and raise children. But in the U.S., single parents are expected to do it all themselves and earn an income. So like I said, how a single parent can do that and run a household, raise kids, work a full-time job, and some, I personally have known, have gone back to school and educated themselves, all of being single parents. So it's a lot. And going back to the situation when a parent who's been the stay-at-home parent is impacted by divorce, the situation can become really dire, and they can end up homeless when that spouse has custody of the children and doesn't have sufficient assets, can't find employment quickly, doesn't have the skills to find employment quickly, or again, doesn't have anyone to help them out with the kids. So I don't know. I mean, there's lots of challenges in life, but this is one challenge that just touches my heart. I've employed a number of single moms, and to a person have had so much admiration for their skills and abilities and their dedication and their courage and struggle. So it probably wouldn't be appropriate to name those that I know that have touched me. But it's just amazing how they have thrived, survived, and even thrived. So I thought it would be maybe helpful. I mean, this is a financial therapy broadcast. So I think it'd be okay to focus on some of the financial aspects of being a single parent. And one would be to create a spending plan for you and your family that prioritizes expenses for yourself and your children. So this is really important to do. Not many of my clients have spending plans or budgets in, line items. I've said before that typically their budget is pay everything that needs to be paid, save everything that needs to be saved, and then you can spend the rest. But in this case, especially if you're a newer single parent, it's really important to do this or get help from somebody that will do this. And there's a lot of apps that can help automate your spending plan and save you time. One would be Mint. That's really good for tracking spending. And another one, YNAB, for doing planning ahead spending. It would be important to put aside a little bit out of every paycheck to build up an emergency fund. It doesn't have to be much, but it does need to be something. And you can plan for this type of savings with that YNAB app. Being a single parent often really encourages creativity. And one of those things is finding free, fun things to do, which is really important. And there's a lot of free things that are out there. You can research and look at. Most every community has things. But this is so important to do versus going to Disneyland or Disney World that costs a fortune, even to somebody that has a really good job. And in line with the saving for the emergency fund is putting aside money to support long-term goals. It's still important to work toward financial independence. So you need to consider retirement savings, maybe saving for a down payment on a home or a car. And this is something I'd throw out. Consider not overemphasizing saving for your children's college education. Now, that just might seem like, oh, Rick, how can you say that? I think one of our money scripts societally is good parents pay for their kids' college education. Research indicates it's more important to save for your retirement and let your children work their way through college. Why? Because it will cost your children more to take care of you in retirement than it will for them to put themselves through college. And kids that put themselves through college have higher grade point averages and less college loan debt than those who often don't work their way through college or get a free ride. And that was a study done out of Berkeley. And I have a column on that on my website at financialawakenings.com. Another thing that you'll want to do is automate as much as possible, and especially when it comes to your finances. Build in as much ease into your life as possible because your time is so precious. So automated online bill paying. I had one single mom that used the delivery options from Walmart. In fact, as her employer, I paid for the delivery because we used it to also get delivery items to the office, and then allowed her to use it for delivery items to her house. Check with your employer. See what can be worked out. That can be a win-win for everybody. It's pretty important to live frugally. And you've heard me say before, the one common denominator of building and accumulating wealth is frugality. And it's also so important to do when you're a single parent. There's lots of ways you can save money. And there's a place to go called clevergirlfinance.com. She has 35 ways that you can be frugal and save money, which would include a number of things, but like ditching paper towels and only using cloth, canceling the cable, And the one that really stood out to me was potty training your cat to eliminate buying kitty litter. Now, my wife raises thoroughbred cats, breeds them, I guess. Balinese. I didn't know this was possible. I'm going to be talking to her about this. Because we go through a lot of cat litter. So, all right. I didn't say it was a rational idea, but she says it can be done. You want to get out of debt? And of course, the first step to getting out of debt is stop getting into debt. So only use credit cards for convenience or emergencies when you know you can pay the balance off at the end of the month. And if you need help with a debt payment plan, reach out to your local consumer credit counseling service. I'm on the board of my local CCCS. They do a phenomenal job, and they're nonprofits, and a lot of their service is at no expense to you. Increase your income. Don't settle for low income. Look for a better paying job or consider returning to school, which I've already talked about. And that sounds so crazy for a single parent. I mean, they already don't have enough time. How can they possibly go back to school? And I know 2 single moms personally that did that. And one of them is a cardiac nurse today, assisting heart surgeons. The other one got her 4-year degree in business administration. So it can be done. Now, some crazy ways to earn money that I have come across is selling your blood. You can do that once every 28 days. Or if you're a woman, you can sell your eggs. I didn't even know that was possible till about a month ago. Another thing you could do is rent out your car. So again, creativity is the key. Be sure you've got adequate life, car, and health insurance to protect you and your kids against a financial catastrophe that could leave you and your family homeless because you're so much at risk. And finally, surround yourself as much as possible with support. Networking with other single parents can just be invaluable. And there's places you can go to like supportforsingleparents.org or a single parent support group like family.lovetoknow.com. family.lovetoknow.com. And I'm sure there are many, many other support groups and places that you can look out or look to for support. So thanks for joining me today. I really do have just a part of me that feels a lot of compassion for single parents. So if you are one, I hope this has been helpful to you. Take care.